All right, a change of pace, to say the least. I'm going to talk about, the way you do, I'm John Shook, and I'm going to talk to you about thinking fast and slow and lean. So, how many people here have read both of these books? Okay, now the next way I ask that may be embarrassing to someone in the room. How many of you here have read Thinking Fast and Slow? How many, I don't know about it. How many people have not read Thinking Fast and Slow? How many people here have not read Lean Thinking? Okay, well, that's all right. And how many people have read Lean Thinking? This is a test. It should be okay. There should be 100% participation. Okay, so some of you, but everyone knows both of these books. I think it's pretty well known. Now, I'm going to talk about this one first, and we're going to think about how they actually fit together, Thinking Fast and Slow. They both have the word thinking in the title. So there's a lot there to think about, I think. So we think in two completely different ways, a fast way and a slow way. I think most of us are familiar with this idea by now from the psychologist Daniel Kahneman. It's a great idea, and the meaning of it basically is that the human brain is divided, not literally, but the way we think is divided is into two systems. System one, where we think fast. System two, where we think slow. So the fast one, we have emotions, intuition. It's instant. Jumps to conclusions. If you look at that photo there, you can see a baby can tell, maybe not quite as young as, what was the child's name? Ben. Maybe he was a little too early to see this, but a baby can tell when an adult is angry. It's an amazing thing, right? So you look at that, you don't have to think about it. There's no analysis. You see he's angry. On the other side, system two, that's pretty simple arithmetic, 17 times 24. But you can't just look at it the way you can that angry face and know what it is. You have to kick into another system. So this is his basic idea for which he got the Nobel Prize. A simple thing. So this machine for jumping to conclusions, he calls us, humans, and this system one. It can't handle uncertainty. It seeks facts and data that confirm what it already thinks it knows. It jumps to conclusions, and that's why we didn't get eaten by, tigers and lions, and because we're able to react very quickly. And even now, you walk across the street, car is coming, you don't have to think about it, you don't have to pull out an A3, go through 5 whys, you jump out of the way. So, system one jumps to conclusions. System two handles uncertainty. You need both. So that's Bobby Fischer. And I don't know exactly how you solve for that. It probably comes out around 55 miles per hour, I suppose. But we can't do that, right? You can't do that. And so I've shown this before. Maybe some of you have seen it, but you can tell what it says. It's very obvious. You don't even have to think about it. And, of course, the cute thing is that you'd be wrong. So thinking system one and system two, you need both. But when and how to switch? If you have to think about it, you're already in system two. Often you don't think about it, you're in system one. But what if you need to be in system two and you jump to the conclusion? Okay. So what would be nice would be if we could have no jumping to conclusions, but also no analysis paralysis. System one, system two, a switching mechanism would be a fast thing. So let's switch over now to lean thinking. It's amazing how many people I hear people mention the fact that, lean is not about tools. Why do you guys talk about tools? It should be about thinking. And I said, well, the title of the book was Lean Thinking. That, in fact, was what it was about all along. So these are the 5 principles that are in the book Lean Thinking. You know these, and Jim just described it as well. Let's go back to good old Taiichi Ohno. Everybody likes to, to use quotes from him. If you're going to do TPS, you must do it all the way. You also need to change the way you think. So he said this a very, very long time ago. Nothing new. And he also said, how do you have to change the way you think? Well, something that informs that is you have to assume things are a mess. In fact, maybe I assume that too much. I probably should be more surprised. I'd probably react to bad things quicker. I just assume things are a mess. And they usually are. Things are usually not going well. So when things aren't a mess, that's when I'm usually surprised. So the Toyota production system, and Tracy and Ernie talked about this today a bit, right? But this is a wonderful quote from Mr. Minoura, one of my favorite teachers in Toyota. If some problem occurs in one-piece flow manufacturing, then the whole production line stops. In this sense, it's a very bad system of manufacturing. You can never produce anything. But, and even if you take that title, which is wonderful, Thinking Production System, when he came out with this about 20 years ago, I thought that was really cool, Thinking Production System, TPS. But the definition of it is even more impressive. It's kind of a lot of words to have on a slide, but I love to read it because I think it's so powerful. When production stops, everyone is forced to solve the problem immediately. The line stopped. So team members have to think. And through thinking, team members grow and become better team members and better people. Now that's some deep thinking stuff. If you're sitting there designing a production system to try to make 500 cars a day, you're trying to design things so that you got attack time and things can get out and you produce your 500 so you can ship. That you're thinking this deeply, that you want to develop people, I think is a really remarkable thing. Maybe one of the most remarkable things about what Toyota did, and one of the most remarkable things for us, I think, to always be aware of. So what are they getting at when we think of lean thinking, basic lean thinking? I really do think it is just PDCA. One of the reasons I think PDCA has survived this long is those words, those letters and words are so ambiguous. I mean, you can talk about plan, do, check, act. What the heck does that mean? You plan, you do, then you... So what it means basically is you have a hypothesis, you give that a try, you check, you adjust and standardize. But the way that usually works out in real life is something more like this. You get an idea, maybe half-baked, you give it a go, and you work around what didn't work, right? And then maybe you give that up and you go do something else, and so the A becomes abandoned, and not necessarily intentionally so. And in the middle is look at the results data as opposed to grasping the situation. Turns out grasping the situation is the most important and actually difficult part. So the purpose of Kaizen Toast was to make people go observe. The actual purpose of learning, one of the underlying purposes of value stream mapping and learning to see, and doing it with pencil, was to force you to go to the Gemba to see. Everybody, even last week I got another proposal how they have a great way to automate value stream mapping. That's not the point. The point is you have to go there and see. It's amazing how that still gets kind of misunderstood. So add a little bit more to that this evening. PDCA as a dynamic process of scientific and creative inquiry. Creative inquiry as well. Think of someone who's sculpting, and you're shaping that. You're looking at, okay, you're going to do a little work on your sculpture. You're going to sit back and look at it and say, no, it needs a little more over here. That's PDCA in a creative sense as well. So we're having a hypothesis, a theory, and then we're going to have fast cycles of trying and doing to learn from that. Then we reflect, and then we're going to adapt. It's very rare that actually everything you did worked perfectly. You predicted that you were going to save 10% of cost or improve quality 10%. You hit exactly 10%, so just standardize that. Almost never, right? You're going to have to adjust in some way. So it's an adaptive process. You can connect this to a lot of things that we don't usually connect it to. This is the famous quote of Einstein that he probably said. I'm always suspicious of these attributions to Einstein, but this is a good one. If I had an hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. That's really kind of cool. It's also lean thinking. How many times have we talked about this? Katie talked about the same thing earlier, right? It's also something you could call set-based thinking. If you've studied LPPD and you start by considering alternatives up front, well, you can consider a lot, and then you narrow down and converge onto one. It's exactly what Einstein was talking about. We did this book that Jim Womack talked about earlier today, that often what we think we're doing Kaizen, and we're just doing rework. Right? So a lot of times, the problems we have are deterioration problems, not that you can't improve. If lean improvements aren't impacting your income statement, is Gene still here? Yeah. Understanding the financial impact, right? And you have little time for improvement work, maybe you don't have an improvement problem at all. Maybe you have a deterioration problem, so things are going bad. And then we have these fix-it-now problems. So here's the illustration of the assembly line, which I almost on a Toyota version with an andon light and a team leader coming to help. And I can't do even a 10-minute talk without showing that. But fix it now, okay? And then I don't know how many of you know Russell Aikoff, but he's a brilliant thinker. Passed away about 10 years ago, but he talked about messy problems. Let's go to the second bullet there at the bottom, the second paragraph. Managers do not solve problems, they manage messes. So they need the skill of designing desirable futures, inventing ways of bringing it about. I think that's true. So I think all these things are true. So how do you make sense of that, and what does lean thinking have to say about it? Well, first of all, it's almost exactly the same. It resonates with what Ono said. You have to assume things are a mess. Okay, you got messy things on the assembly line. You have PDCA. How do these fit together? So problems can be caused or created. In the book Managing the Learner, if you've ever hung around and you studied a little bit about Toyota approaches to problem solving, there's two kinds. There are problems that happen to you. The line broke. The car broke down. Okay, now we have to fix this right now. And then there are the ones that you create. If it's not broken, break it. So we can actually take things to another level. So these two categories. Now you can also think of another further subdivision called troubleshooting. That's where you fix it now, okay? This thing is on fire. I can't go do an A3. I need to fix it now. On the other hand, I need to go back and circle around and find out why fires keep happening. Do my 5 whys. That's not gap from standard. Those are both two types of cause problems. And then for this future things, created problems, some of those you know exactly where you want to go. I want to have 0 falls in the hospital. I want to have 0 accidents, on the highway where there's a lot of accidents. Sometimes you can draw a really clear picture, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't know, right? There's a better future out there somewhere. You have a vague idea of what it is, but we don't know for sure, right? And we know this has been the source of great human improvement the entire history of humanity. So back to basic thinking. How do these two mindsets here impact everything? The way we think about lean, the way we think about making improvements. Implementation of solutions. I have something I'm going to put in place, some standardized work, a best practice, versus exploration of questions. So if you think of essential lean thinking, I think there's nothing more important or more key, maybe alongside going to observe, put that one up there. The other is not to jump to conclusions. Lean thinking compels us to avoid jumping to conclusions. As it turns out, for humans, gathering together to do anything, where we want to have any hope of actually accomplishing what we want, that's a really important thing. But we have this that's working against us. But this is also working for us sometimes, right? You don't want to do away with this. So this desire then, this need to have maybe a switching mechanism. We would like to have system 1 when we need it, system 2 when we need that. A good switching mechanism would help. Steve Spear, a very great thinker in everything we've been doing with understanding lean for the last couple of decades, visited us at LEI just last week and had this to say. He showed this, this photograph where you're seeing a football player make a catch, and he's reacting very quickly. He's got system 1 working there, right? Fast thinking. But everything that went into that play was all consisted of system 2 thinking to prepare for that. And as Steve put it, this is his quote, don't do slow thinking when you should do fast. Don't do fast thinking when you should do slow. You need them both. But how can we kind of, deal with that? And I don't know if you know the wonderful movie, The Office Space, right? Office Space. Incredible movie. And there's a guy there that actually, we need to jump to conclusions. And he had a jump to conclusions map. I think you could actually buy these in stores a few years ago. So sometimes it needs, you can tell, I'm aging myself. This is a few years ago, Miami Heat. But I love that. Look how quick you're going to have to be able to think and react here. And then look at Bobby Fischer thinking incredibly deeply. We need them both. So we have a couple of mechanisms, techniques in lean world. One is Kata. And people often ask, how does Kata and A3? Do they fight? Can they coexist? Or, how do they fit together? One way of thinking of it is Kata can be a means of tapping into system 1 and directing it for maximum effectiveness. For those cases where we need to react quickly. Think of the guy catching the football there on the goal line, right? He's going to try to develop habits so that he can do that without thinking. The same way a firefighter, when they see a certain situation, they know exactly what to do and respond to that. On the other hand, A3 is a means of tapping into system 2 and directing it for maximum effectiveness. So we're thinking, this is a graphic showing when you go into on a curve in a car, you go slow in and fast out. So when to go slow, when to go fast. So we can use Kata, for example, when we have standardized work. You're developing habits, so you know exactly how to do the thing of picking up the part, putting it together, one step at a time without even thinking about it. On the other hand, the A3 for tapping into system 2. So those skills that Katie was talking about, it becomes simply an aid to help us practice that. So then we can do that whenever the situation calls for it, asking those questions that are going to be key for us to think more deeply. They connected a little bit with what Mike took us through earlier as well. So here's a definition from good old Merriam-Webster of what mindfulness is. And if you read this, it's like, wow, it starts to sound like lean, like almost a definition of aspects of lean thinking we've been talking about. The practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened or complete awareness, not jumping to a conclusion, of one's thoughts and emotions to keep yourself out of it, or experiences on a moment-to-moment basis. So lean thinking then, I'm going to suggest, is about not accepting easy compromises or either-or solutions. It's never, one of the early books about lean was zero inventory. There's no such thing as zero inventory. We don't want to have that, but nor do we want to have just-in-case inventory. The question is, what's the right amount? It's neither command and control nor laissez-faire. It's neither results or process. It's understanding how the results and the process integrate and fit together. It's both great reliability and lowest cost, not just one of the two. It used to be, what do you want? Cost, quality, or delivery. Choose one or two. You're not going to get all three. And it's not one or the other, but both system 1 and 2. Both system 1 and 2. You can tap into those as you need. And if you can practice some of those techniques, like Mike took us through, you're able to do that. I think with what comes at you, you can respond to that with system 1 or system 2. So as we make improvements in work and just try to get through the day and work for our customers, you can't do just one thing. There's a lot coming at us. For process and results, quality and efficiency, enterprises need to clarify the purpose, macro level all the way down to the front lines, specify the work. We have to develop the people, develop those skills, establish management systems to support the right leader behaviors, work on the basic thinking of the culture Sammy was talking about. You've got to do all these things. But at the front lines, the value-creating front lines, do just one thing at a time. Appropriate for what's coming at you, or for the stance that you want to take to it when we want to be proactive. Build one item, right? One piece flow. Build one item at a time. Move things one at a time. Solve one problem at a time. Not trying to tackle everything at once. Coach one person at a time. Coach one person on one matter. So we can be working on all these things, but the right thing at the right time, appropriately with the right thinking. And what we will do next year is we will try to do this better. Thank you for joining us for Lean Talks number 2. Join us again for Lean Talks number 3 next year. Thank you.